I want to give a special thanks to Cage Wars for providing me with this footage. If you want to find out more about the promotion, check out the link in the description below. We're back with amateur fights today, specifically one that features someone that's been on this channel before, Diego. While I do train at Diego's gym, I just want to give credit where credit's due. His opponent showcases some fantastic defensive jiu-jitsu and some great aggression, but I want to talk about why this works and why it kind of falls apart, and what Diego does really well and what he does to mitigate a lot of the aggression. So that brings me to my first point. Let's talk about this initial scramble. First, we see a bit of the knee shield into the clinch. We close the gap. From the clinch, we see his opponent Rodrigues moves towards a Kimura attempt. He uses Kimura, and you see that it has to be respected. The Kimura is a very dangerous move in general. It's like the overhand right of mixed martial arts, as I heard someone once put it. Using this, he lines up Diego's center of gravity over top of him and uses that to abandon on the Kimura and goes straight for deep half guard. He hooks underneath the leg, underneath the hamstring, and proceeds to put all of Diego's weight right over top of him. From deep half guard, he proceeds to use his shin and post on Diego's hamstring. At this point, now he has a lot of leverage to actually elevate Diego further away from him so that he can actually start working to get back to his feet or something. The point is, the more space, the better. You don't want someone putting all of their weight on you. With this subtle elevation, he uses this and makes more space and then proceeds to transition to X guard. So just off the bat, he took a really bad position from being dropped and got his way back to X guard, where your opponent is no longer in a position to be able to strike effectively with ground and pound. Well, they can, but it's a lot harder when someone's more or less being a metaphorical skateboarder underneath you. Once he gets Diego back to standing, he uses this and builds up a base and gets back to a place where he can start fighting and wrestling again. If you're on top of someone in X guard, it's actually really difficult to kind of feel comfortable doing anything of substance, really. Trying to throw ground and pound on slippery legs is difficult. It makes more sense to abandon unless you want to get swept. While his opponent does a great job of sweeping and getting out from a sticky situation, Diego does a fantastic job of preventing the counter double from doing anything of substance by maintaining 3 points of contact with the ground at all times. There's a couple moments where his opponent does a really good job making sure that Diego gets 2 points of contact, but in this case, the cage provides the tertiary point of contact, so that's a fun little tip there. Just very useful, just savvy in terms of using your surroundings. Where Diego's defense falls apart is when he stops prioritizing the whizzer, and Rodrigues actually proceeds to move towards scooping that leg off the double and moving towards a single. When you don't prioritize the whizzer here, it's not really the single leg you need to be as worried about anymore. It's about your back being taken. That's exactly what Rodrigues does. He jumps immediately onto the back. This is the problem. Upon going for the back, he prioritizes aggression over top control and proceeds to immediately move for the choke. You can see here that he doesn't actually have any of his hooks in. Judging by the posture here, it doesn't look like he's planning on getting his hooks in. So what does Diego do? Well, he rolls with the punches and just realizes, well, if you're not going to control my lower body, I'm just going to shuck you off. He bends forward at the waist and just literally rolls him over, and he's relinquished top control. Despite losing top control, he still manages to actually recover guard and snatch onto a figure four again. Using this, he even gets a sweep off of this. This is fantastic. This is what I mean. You lock up a Kimura, you got sweeps for days. You got so much leverage off of controlling that arm. This is where things really start to fall apart. Instead of prioritizing top control, he proceeds to go for an armbar. I don't have too many issues with trying to go for an early finish, but the problem with this is that it's very high risk, high reward. If you pull this off, you end up winning the fight. If you don't, well, you're on bottom with potentially an entire round to look forward to. Diego actually ends up on top here and proceeds to ride this out by ensuring that he stays close to his opponent's hips and ensuring that he doesn't let him get up. There are a few moments to get up, but Diego manages to stuff that upon recognizing that he has top control here and he can ride out the rest of the round. I just really want to emphasize the defensive nature and how on point this guy is with his defensive jiu-jitsu. The second round comes out and Diego knocks him down again, but I wouldn't be too upset if this fight got finished here. I wouldn't, as a fan and as a spectator, it's justifiable. However, we can see that the defensive nature of Rodrigues' jiu-jitsu bottom game is on point. Despite being rocked and not having all his senses there, he still manages to maintain a knee shield and keep his composure just enough to prevent referee's intervention. And now, despite being rocked and taking a couple shots, he still manages to actually work his way back up and eventually get the back again. And this is where I pose the question. What are you trying to prioritize in a fight? Rodrigues does do a great job of repeatedly taking the back in this fight, but the problem then becomes, what game are you trying to play? I wouldn't say I'm against taking the back in mixed martial arts. It's very clear that it works. But if you're not 100% confident in your back takes or your top control or your transitions to back control, I really question whether it's actually worth it for mixed martial arts. I would say this is a situation where the back takes weren't as clean as they needed to be in terms of fundamentally getting your hooks in and working and establishing a place where you could actually work for the rear naked choke. What we ended up seeing was some attempts to get the hooks in, but the position wasn't quite solid enough, and there's subtle enough details that even the commentators miss out on it.
See what's going on.
He's going to transition to the hooks. Nope. I thought he'd go the opposite way.
But just little things that if you don't have someone completely carrying your weight appropriately, it can be very difficult to sink hooks in when your opponent knows that's exactly what you're trying to do. Setting up your back take with punches or being really crafty with your setups in general is one way to really solidify the back control, to go hunt for the choke. But very rarely do you see anyone finish choke without hooks in or that kind of that control, so to speak. I pose a discussion question. Is taking the back actually worth it for mixed martial arts? And I would say that unless your back takes are actually that on point and you know you can control it once you get the hooks in, or once you get seatbelt control, or whatever your criteria is for taking the back, then sure. But if the refinement isn't quite there yet and the confidence isn't there, I don't think that this is the wisest approach to mixed martial arts. I think for a lot of people, the safer option is to just ride out the turtle and make sure that they never do get back up and then just punch away from there. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. If you like my content, guys, please hit the like button and hit subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. And again, thank you very much for Cage Wars for providing the footage. I'll see you on the next one.